Okay, so I've just generated, kind of made up some data here. I don't know that these numbers are accurate. I literally just kind of estimated them. So don't send me a message and say, Steve, those enrollment numbers are wrong. No, I don't know. Again, we're just making data up here so we can draw some charts. So let's talk about the second chart type that I like to talk about is the pie chart. Right? This displays values versus labels or categories. Okay, what it does is it shows a category contribution to the whole. Trying to go quickly here and making mistakes. That's okay. Shows a category's contribution to the whole. That is what a pie chart does. So let's do a pie chart over here. Okay. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because we've already done some of these. Um, I could probably just let Excel grab the data and it will probably make it just fine, but I just don't trust it. So I'm just going to do a simple pie chart, my cursor where there's no data, and I'm going to manually put the data in because I want to show you how quickly that goes. Now I'm slowed down a little bit because I'm recording through Zoom. So and I'm displaying on another computer, so it's going a little slow, but that's okay. So I just edited data, I added a series, and because it's a pie chart, there's only going to be most likely just one series. If there's only one series, I'm not even going to mess with giving it a name, okay? Because there's just one series. I don't think there's a need to personally. But it does want to know what are the values, what are the numbers associated with this series. Well, that's going to be these numbers here. So I've got different schools around the state of Oklahoma, and we've got an estimate for what their enrollment might roughly look like. Okay, so I've just added values to this series based on those, and I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Now, in the scatter chart, I normally don't mess with this side over here, this right-hand side, but let's look at what it says. It says horizontal or category axis labels. Anytime Excel is asking for labels, text is okay. Numbers are okay, text is okay. If it wants values, you really want to give it numbers. But if it's asking for labels, text is all right. So let's edit that, and that's wanting to know what are the categories associated with these numbers. So it wants us to highlight the labels, the text that goes with the numbers that we've already fed it. And that's all I got to do here. I'm going to hit OK, and you saw how quick that went, and it would have gone even quicker if I wasn't talking and explaining what I'm doing. So the moral of the story is, yes, you can let Excel just grab all the data and put it in a chart. And if you're working with simple data, that goes pretty well. What you're going to find is you're going to start working with more and more complex data sets. You're going to want to graph just a small slice of them. So knowing how to feed it very specific data into your graph is really, really helpful, I can assure you. It's okay to just highlight the data and hit the insert graph button. There's nothing wrong with that. But I did want you to see that it's easy to do and have complete control of it. Okay? All right, let's talk about this pie chart here. So let's give it a title. All right, this is enrollment of state schools, I guess. Let's call it that. Okay, now this would be okay as is. Leave it alone if you like. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. I will tell you, as somebody that struggles with some colors, I struggle with blues and purples personally. I do okay with reds and greens, but I don't see the same number of colors most people do. So for me, I'm struggling here. I know this is either blue or purple, these two guys here. This appears to be gray, but this might actually be a very light shade of purple. I don't know. So when you've got somebody potentially that may not see all the colors, coming down here and having to match a category to a particular color is not always the best for us. What you might consider doing is if you click in this chart, you right click, you can add data labels. I'm just going to click on that, right? And that puts what's called data labels or data labels in there. Now, if you click on one of these numbers now and you format the data label, it brings up a format box over here. And maybe I don't necessarily want to show the value. Maybe you do. I don't. I'm going to show the category name. I'm going to pull the value off. Maybe you want to see the percentage, though. Okay? So now I don't have to come down here to this legend and match color to color, which is going to be, and with this few of colors, I do okay. If you've got a bunch of colors, it can be a real struggle sometimes. So that's something I do personally because I know it helps me and it's going to help anybody else that struggles with colors. There are some pre-built options up here in the, some of these are really cool. You can hover over these, and some of these have got, they're modifying the data levels. Some of them are relying on a legend. If you know you've got people who really struggle with color, this is a nice option. Again, for me, I don't mind some colors, but my preference is give me the data level labels. Okay, that's what I would prefer. I kind of like this one myself. And again, it doesn't bother me to put the colors there. It's just helpful if they go with the categories. Okay, moving quickly here because I've got a meeting at 2:30, so I'm about to get this, I think. Let's talk about one last type of chart. Number 3, let's talk about a bar or column chart. Okay. This also is going to display values versus labels. Okay. Now, so if we do a column or a bar chart here, okay, so let's, I'm going to put my cursor over here out of the way. I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to grab one of these. And you drag it down. This is what you want it vertical, you want it horizontal. It's saying the vertical, it's calling a column, and the horizontal, it's calling a bar chart. I'm going to do the vertical on what I would call a bar chart, but it's calling a column chart. That's okay. So let's get this out of my way. I don't need this yet. I'll probably need it later, and it's easy enough to get back. Let's add data. So select data. Again, I'm going to need a series in here. I'm only going to put one series in here, so I'm personally not going to mess with the name. You can if you like. It's not going to hurt. But the values, those are going to be the numbers. Now, in this particular chart, I don't want all of them. I'm just going to grab a couple. So let's say I grab the value for OU. And if you hold down the Control key on your keyboard, you can select individual values. So let's get just the metro schools, the schools around the metro area. So OU is just kind of barely outside. OCCC is within the Oklahoma City metro, and then Rose State's just outside. And then UCO is also just right outside. But again, holding down the Control key, notice what it's done. It's allowed me to select individuals. If you can read this, you can see that these individual cells have been separated with the comma. In Excel speak, the comma allows you to separate individual values. So again, I didn't want all those numbers, and sometimes you don't. You can graph certain individuals this way. Again, I don't need a series name in this one because there's only, and right now it doesn't know what categories to associate with those numbers. It's just calling them by default 1 through 4. Let's edit, and I'm going to select those in the same order I selected the data points, the values. I'm going to click on OU, hold Control, I'm going to click OCCC, and then Rose, and then UCO. I'm going to hit OK, and you can see what it's done. Now again, I'm going quickly because I know you can rewind. Let's say enrollment for OKC Metro schools. Should capitalize. Let's use proper case here. Right? Capitalize everything but like A and D. Okay. Now, one thing I would suggest is it's not clear what are the units on these numbers. I know that might seem ridiculous, but seriously, is that credit hours? Is that tuition dollars? Is that individual people? Is that full-time equivalents? What are we talking about here? How do we do that? Well, you can come over here. You can go through one of the preset layouts, or I'm just going to add, because really all I need is a vertical axis title. So I'm going to add that. And again, this is just made up numbers, but let's just say this is number of students, and we'll leave it at that. Okay? All right, guys, that's what I've got today. If you have questions, let me know. Send me an email. If you don't mind the rest of the world seeing it, you're welcome to leave comments here too. I can answer those. Either way works. All right, guys. Assignment 2 is in Canvas. Look at it. See what you think. Let me know. Have a good one, guys.